Imagine it's the year 1374, and you're a 51-year-old wood-turner in the town of Schwabisch Gmund, nestled in the cold spine of the Swabian Alps. Your teeth hurt. They've been hurting for months now, each one a small, rotting fire inside your jaw. You sit in the damp light of morning, elbow on the table, watching your wife mash boiled rye into a kind of paste. She doesn't look at you, not out of anger, but fatigue. You haven't slept properly in days. The pain wakes you at night, dull and swollen, as though your gums are filling with lead. Your left cheek is tender to the touch, puffed and red as a hearth coal. You press your tongue along the molars and taste copper and rot. The church bells toll prime. Through the warped glass of the window, salvaged from an old abbey, you can just make out the figure of old Brother Matthias hobbling down the path, a bundle of kindling in his arms. He has only 4 teeth left and grins at everyone like it's a joke. Maybe it is. You remember when your own mouth was strong, your laugh full and careless. That was before the grain turned coarse, before years of chewing bread laced with stone-gritted flour, before the icy winters cracked your lips and made every ache worse. You know you'll have to do something. The pain is too much. This afternoon, you'll visit Friedrich, not a barber, not really a doctor either. Just a man with strong hands and a pair of rusted iron tongs. They say he once pulled 16 teeth in a single market day and fainted only twice. You're not afraid. No one is, not in the way a man should be. You're ashamed. Ashamed of crying, ashamed of the smell, ashamed of needing help. When the time comes, you'll sit on the stool behind his hut. The wood will be slick with other men's sweat. Friedrich will offer you a stick of juniper to bite down on, but no one ever keeps it in. You'll taste blood before he even begins. He won't warn you. He'll count to 3, and at 2, the world will narrow to a flash of agony and a sound like dry rope tearing in the rain. And afterward, you'll sit quietly, holding your jaw, weeping without sound. He'll hand you a cloth, coarse linen, stiff with old stains. The cold will feel good on your lips. Behind the hut, a pit. Shallow. Flies dance over it in the sun. The teeth of men, blackened and split like charred twigs, lie scattered among scraps of old cloth and chicken bones. You will leave yours there, too. If you enjoyed my stories, please subscribe to my channel and let me know what you liked and what you didn't like so that I can improve my stories. You can also write where you are from, as I would be interested to know. In a cottage on the edge of Kilmallock, Ireland, 1329, Mary Rudhain leans over her son's face, holding a candle close enough to see, but not to burn. He is 12, and the right side of his jaw is swollen like a bruised plum. His breath smells of festering grain. She's done all she can, boiled sage leaves, packed the tooth with ashes from the hearth, even tried the old nun's advice, a clove tied in lambskin, tucked behind the cheek. Nothing worked. His fever is high now. He hasn't eaten in 2 days. The priest came by and mumbled a blessing, then whispered something about sin, about punishment. She wanted to scream, but nodded instead. In desperation, she walks to the bone setter. He's not known for mercy, only that he'll do what others fear to. His cottage smells of sheep tallow and burned milk. Hanging from a hook by the door, the tooth key, a metal lever with a crooked claw at the end, black with rust and something else. The bone setter says nothing. He lifts the boy by the jaw, turns the head left, then right, then lets go. Infection, he says. Rot's gone deep. Mayor wants to know what will happen if they leave it. The man shrugs. Pain. Jaw swells. Then blood poisons. Then breath stops. She nods. The boy is laid back across a bench. No one is strapped down. There's no soporific, no drink. Just the damp of the wall and the press of a mother's hands. The tooth key enters, scrapes. The boy's heels slam against the bench. Then the wrenching, not quick, not clean. The tooth does not come free on the first turn, nor the second. The boy screams and thrashes. A molar cracks mid-root. The key slips. Blood spatters the bone-setter's cheek. He says nothing, only readjusts. It is the third turn that finally rips the rotten stump free. It's not a clean shape, more like a shard of charcoal, slick and blackened. Mare vomits in the grass behind the hut. The boy does not speak again that day. By nightfall, the bleeding has stopped. But the swelling continues. His skin burns. His breath comes fast, wet and bubbling. Mare stays awake by the fire, whispering stories of St. Bridget and warm bread and rivers with no leeches, until the candle burns out. At dawn, the boy's eyes open. And he smiles, faintly, lopsidedly, just once. One side of his jaw still screams. But the other is silent. And silence, sometimes, is a mercy. In the cramped stone chamber of a Benedictine infirmary near Rouen, the year is 1281. A monk named Brother Alderic bends over an elderly laywoman whose mouth will not close. Her jaw is locked, clenched in pain, and her eyes flutter as though chasing something behind the lids. She had come 3 days prior, leaning on her daughter's shoulder, lips swollen, unable to eat. Now her face is blotched with purples and grays, her breath labored. Brother Alderic is not trained in medicine, not formally. But he knows the tools: vinegar, leeches, tallow. And he knows what people say when the pain becomes unbearable. The woman's mouth reeks, not of breath, but of meat gone sweet with decay. Her tongue is cracked. Her chin trembles, though she does not speak. Under her tongue, a black abscess has risen like a blister on burnt iron. When pressed, it seeps a thick, yellow fluid that smells of rot and damp wood. Alderic calls for the barber, a friar from the Low Country. He arrives by vespers, sleeves rolled high. He carries a knife and a tin basin. "Boil water," he says, "and hold her still." The daughter protests, but the friar does not look up. "If we don't open it, it will spread to the brain. Then there will be nothing to treat." They heat the blade over the hearth until it glows, then cool it just enough. The friar lifts the woman's chin. Her eyes find Alderic's. She does not plead. She only breathes, in small, shallow bursts. The cut is swift, but not bloodless. A noise escapes her lips that is not a scream, nor a word. Just breath pushed through pain. The friar works quickly, widening the opening with his thumbs. Pus spills into the tin, thick as lard, with strands of pale blood. The daughter turns away. Alderic swallows hard and whispers the psalms. Afterward, the woman lies still. The swelling has not gone down. Her pulse is weak. But the pressure is gone. She sleeps. The friar wipes his hands on a cloth that will never be clean again. He leaves without a word. In the night, Alderic checks her. Her face looks different now, not peaceful, but released. The fever has broken. Or she has. She will not survive the week. He knows this. The infection runs too deep. But in that moment, the 3rd hour of night, the infirmary is silent, save for the crackling of a dying log and the soft hiss of breath escaping cracked lips. And somewhere in the silence, a lesson neither medical nor divine, that sometimes, the only cure left is the gentleness with which one waits for the end. Imagine the year is 1408, and you're standing in a slanted alley of Bruges, knees trembling, mouth filled with salt and blood. You are 13, a cooper's apprentice, and your master has just sent you to the public square, not to buy nails or pitch, but to have your tooth pulled. The square is loud, filthy, wet from rain that only seems to make the smells stronger. Fish bones, urine, spoiled bread. You try not to gag. Ahead, a small crowd circles a platform of boards hammered onto barrels. Upon it stands the barber, a man in a stained red smock, sleeves rolled high, face hidden behind a leather mask soaked in vinegar. He doesn't look at the patients. He looks at the teeth. You join the line. A woman in front of you clutches a shawl over her mouth. A farmer behind you hums softly, hand pressed to a swollen cheek. Everyone is afraid. But no one leaves. It is cheaper here. No church fee, no pledges of coin. Just pain. When your turn comes, he doesn't ask your name. Just opens your mouth with 2 fingers. His breath smells of onions and beer. He jabs a hook tool between your aching molar and the gum. The pain is immediate, bright and sour. You cry out, and he slaps your shoulder. Be still. The tool turns. You hear a wet crack. A snap. Your eyes blur. He plants his knee against your chest. You feel pressure more than pain now, the sensation of something being wrenched from the bone. You taste iron. You taste something else, rot, sharp and greasy, like spoiled fat. Then it's out. He holds it up, still clutched in the iron. Pelican, as they call the tool. It is black at the root, green at the crown. He tosses it into a bucket with others. They clink like small pebbles. Some still bleed. Your vision swims. He shoves a rag into your mouth, says, "Next," and pulls another sole onto the boards. You stumble away, jaw packed with linen, blood trickling down your chin. No one helps. No one asks. You sit on the curb. Spit. Watch the blood pool between the stones. There will be no healing balm. No broth tonight. Only silence. And the taste of your own body breaking. You feel older now. In the damp, low-lying fens of East Anglia, the year is 1357. A woman named Edith, 43 and long widowed, walks the half-mile to the Abbey infirmary not because she believes she will be healed, but because the pain has made her mad. For 6 weeks, her mouth has throbbed with the weight of a swollen molar. It has turned purple at the gum, and her left eye now waters constantly, leaking down her cheek. She has stuffed the tooth with sour moss, clay, even soft wool soaked in wine. Nothing helped. There were nights she bit on a strap of boiled leather to keep from waking the children with her cries. Nights she pressed the heel of her hand to her temple so long it left a bruise. She tried prayer, whispered to saints, and once, in secret, left a crust of bread at a pagan stone down near the marsh. But now the pain speaks. Not in words, in heat, in rhythm, in a strange, dull pressure like something alive crawling behind the bone. She cannot think. Cannot eat. The world has narrowed to a circle of red. The monks at the abbey do not let her inside. They give her a cloth soaked in salt water, a paste made of barley and nettles. Place it here, they say, pointing to the jaw. Sleep on your right side. Speak to Saint Apollonia. She wants to laugh. She cannot open her mouth enough. So she returns home. The cottage is cold. The rushes stink. Her youngest boy, barely 5, asks if her face is still on fire. She nods. He offers her a beetle he found in the woodpile. She does not speak. That night, she stares at the ceiling. Hears the scurry of mice between rafters. Hears the tick of dripping from the roof. The pain blooms and pulses, not sharp anymore, but deeper. Her temple throbs in time with her heart. Her left ear hisses. In the blackest part of night, she grips a hot iron ladle from the hearth and holds it close to her cheek. Just near enough to feel the heat, not to burn, but to remember what another kind of pain felt like. She does this for hours. By morning, the swelling has changed. It has spread downward, along the neck. Her tongue feels thick. Her thoughts heavy. The children look at her like they no longer recognize her. She tries to milk the goat, but her fingers shake. Tries to eat a crust of bread, but the chewing sends lightning through her skull. That night, she curls on the floor by the hearth, knees pulled in. The children sleep. And sometime before dawn, the pain, suddenly, incredibly, vanishes. But not because it healed. Because the nerve is dead. She wakes, not from the pain, but from its absence, and weeps without sound. Outside, frost creeps across the thatch. She will live for now. But part of her has gone. In the stone apothecary of Ulm, the year is 1423. A young scribe named Nicolaus leans over a wooden bench, grinding deer antler and sage with a pestle. He's not a physician. He cannot afford one. But he has read the recipes. And his back tooth has begun to ache. Not sharply, not yet. But with a kind of slow, nagging whisper, like something tapping from within. He recognizes the fear in himself. The same look he's seen on the faces of the townsfolk waiting outside the barber's stall. Nicolaus refuses to become one of them. He works by candlelight, brows slick with sweat, mixing powdered mint, crushed garlic, and salt into a clump. The recipe comes from a monk's copy of Tequinum Sanitatis, the health manual written centuries ago in Arabic and brought west by scholars. It promises cleansing of foul humors of the mouth. He dips a cloth strip into vinegar, rubs the mixture into it, and presses it to the aching gum. It burns. But he welcomes the burn. It means he's doing something. Later, he chews on dried yarrow, hoping its bitterness will numb the pain. He packs the aching tooth with a scrap of linen soaked in wine and turpentine. When the pain does not fade, he grinds dried rose petals with powdered bone and a single nail of clove, precious, imported, used in sparing flakes. He whispers a prayer, not to saints, but to the materials themselves. He believes, vaguely, that nature holds answers, that certain leaves bend toward mercy. He doesn't eat for 3 days, afraid of disturbing the wound. The pain swells, then fades, then returns, more constant. He tries rinsing with stale ale. Then urine, as some physicians recommend. Then honey and ash. The infection comes anyway. His tongue grows coated, his breath sour. The gum grows soft and blackened, then splits slightly. He presses a finger to it, and draws back streaked pus. The barber tells him the tooth must go. Nicolaus shakes his head. I have clove oil, he whispers. The barber does not argue. He's seen this too often. Then be quick about it, he says, before it reaches your eye. Nicolaus returns to his room and lights 3 candles. Not for saints. For focus. He writes by the dim light, cataloging what he has tried, what failed, what hurt, what soothed. His jaw pulses with every heartbeat. He sleeps, finally, on a rolled wool cloak. The pain dulls. The linen tastes of rust and bark. In the morning, he cannot feel the tooth anymore. But neither can he feel his left cheek. In the manor house of Count Hugo von Bielstein, the year is 1316. The lady of the house, Agnes, sits upright in her embroidered chair, her mouth open not in protest, but because the physician told her not to close it. The swelling might trap her jaw. She is 30, pale, with a streak of silver already in her braid. The tooth, an upper molar, has throbbed for 5 days. She has not slept, not eaten more than broth. Her husband summoned a physician from Strasbourg, a man in crimson robes with rings on every finger. He smelled of camphor and confidence. He said it was humid vapors rising to the brain. He prescribed boiled nettle, warm goat's milk, and dried figs soaked in vinegar. She gagged on the figs. Her cheek grew worse. Today, they brought a barber surgeon, not the usual one, but a traveling man with a French accent and a box of gleaming tools wrapped in oiled cloth. He bows deeply before speaking. I can save the lady her tooth, if not her dignity. Agnes does not laugh. She cannot move half her face. They lay her on the table, a polished oak board used the week before for cutting pheasants. 2 maids hold her arms. One begins to sob. The physician does not interfere. The surgeon opens his kit. The tools look like weapons. Hooks, clamps, a twisted screw. He selects the pelican, shaped like a beak, crude, cold, with a gear for torque. He whispers something in French, kisses the cross around his neck, and begins. No cloth. No sponge. No draught of wine. It is not custom among nobles. Pain must be witnessed. The tool slips once, catches the gum. Blood streaks down her neck. The second grip is better. The third, she screams. The tooth gives way with a noise that will remain in every servant's dreams. Like a cork from a bottle, but wetter. A gout of blood follows, hot and bright. Agnes faints. They revive her with lavender oil and scorn. The surgeon presents the tooth to the count. It is split, blackened through the middle. It would have rotted into the bone, he says. We are fortunate. The count nods. Hands him a silver coin. The surgeon pockets it, bows, and leaves. That night, Agnes lies still, her face wrapped in linen, her mouth full of vinegar-soaked gauze. She cannot speak. In the hall, the count hosts a guest from Bohemia. They drink wine, eat veal, and speak of hunting. No one mentions the screams. In the cold stone cell of St. Gall's Abbey, the year is 1262, Brother Petrus prays silently as the rising sun brushes the frost on his parchment. He is 64, and has not chewed solid food in over a month. His lower teeth are gone, not pulled, just lost. They fell out slowly, one by one. The gum retreated first, then the teeth loosened, wobbled, and vanished in his sleep. Some he found under his blanket, others he swallowed. He did not tell the abbot. Monks are meant to suffer quietly. Illness is a test, not an excuse. But now his upper jaw aches constantly, and when he tries to read aloud at lauds, his breath catches in a strange whistle through his broken arch. His saliva is thick. Sometimes, blood seeps between the gums when he speaks. There is no barber here. The abbey refuses worldly medicine unless the body is dying. The rule of Saint Benedict values simplicity. Cleanliness of the soul, not the flesh. But Petrus knows what rots inside a man. He has copied texts for decades, and some of them mention decay, not spiritual, but dental. He has seen a page from an Arabic manuscript, a recipe for a paste made from burnt rosemary and powdered oyster shell. He has neither. Instead, he chews willow bark and applies ash. One morning, the pain is too great. He asks for permission to see the abbey's herbalist. Brother Matthias is kind, but limited. He examines Petrus's mouth with a small bronze spoon. The root has abscessed, he says softly. It will need to be drawn out. There is no anesthetic. Only prayer. The drawing means heat, a poker, touch to the cheek outside, and suction from a horn inside. It does nothing. The abscess remains. Matthias tells him to try fasting and flagellation, in case the affliction is born of pride. Petrus obeys. He grows thinner. His face hollows. One night, a black lump ruptures in his sleep. Hot fluid fills his mouth, bitter and foul. He swallows before he can spit. His body convulses. He survives. But the smell never leaves. For the next 6 years, he is known by the novices as the one who whispers from the side. They do not mock him, not cruelly. But they avoid him at meals. Because sometimes, even sanctity reeks. The year is 1389, and beneath the damp stones of Krakow's city jail, a cooper named David spits blood into his palm. He does not weep. He has only one good eye left, and it stares blankly at the moldy straw beneath him. 3 nights ago, a guard struck him in the mouth with the butt of a spear. The reason? David had asked for water. Just asked, politely. Now 2 of his teeth are missing, snapped at the gum. A third hangs loose, like a rotten plank in a flooded wharf. The bleeding has slowed, but the pain is new, not from the missing teeth, but from the flesh around them, which has begun to swell. The inside of his cheek pulses. It stinks, even he can smell it. He tries not to touch the wound. But in the dark, the tongue cannot help itself. It presses, prods, finds new holes where once there were roots. The man in the next cell, an old thief with 3 fingers and a crushed nose, offers him a cure. Urinate in a clay cup. Gargle. It pulls the rot, he says. Old gypsy trick. David tries. The burning makes him gag. The pain sharpens, then dulls. For a few hours he sleeps. By morning, his face has swollen further. His eye is nearly closed. He cannot eat the bread they throw through the bars. It's too hard, like masonry. A priest visits later that day. Says nothing. Looks at David's mouth, makes a face, and walks away. There is no barber. No herbs. No cloth. He packs the wound with a bit of thread from his tunic, soaked in spit and ash. It doesn't help. 3 days pass. The abscess bursts on its own. It oozes across his cheek and down into his collar. He feels warmth, then cold. Then relief. And he laughs. The sound startles the thief next door. What? David smiles, or tries to. Blood threads through the cracks in his grin. It's gone, he says. The pain's gone. But it isn't. It's just moved deeper, where even screaming can't reach. It is spring of 1364, and in the manor village of Barsarobe, a maid named Isabeau washes linens in the cold river, scrubbing wool with numb hands. She is 22, unmarried, quiet, with dark hair she keeps tightly bound. And no one will kiss her. Not since last harvest. They say she is too shy, too pious, perhaps even cold. But she knows why. She's known since the day Alien, the butcher's son, leaned close in the barn and then pulled away. Slowly. With a wrinkle of the nose he didn't bother to hide. He said nothing cruel. Just left. And after that, no one came near. She tastes it every morning, the sour tang at the back of her tongue, the slime behind the lower front teeth. When she runs her finger across the gum, it comes away dark. Her breath wakes her in the night. She smells it in the wool of her blanket, in the hollow of her own palm. But what can she do? There are no brushes. No mint. No paste. At market, she barters for crushed salt and sage. Mixes it with ashes from the bread oven and rubs it into her teeth with the corner of a rag. She rinses with cold ale. She chews parsley stolen from the Lord's garden. Nothing lasts. The breath returns. Always. Once, the apothecary's wife told her to press goose fat to her gums. It seals the heat, she said. Keeps the rot from rising. Isabeau tried. It made her gag. She's lost one tooth already, a side incisor. It fell loose last winter, painless but shameful. Now her smile is crooked, her laughter thin. She does not speak much anymore. At feast days, she keeps her mouth shut. Nods instead of answering. Dances with children, not men. The steward's wife praises her modesty. But she sees how they look away. In the evenings, she prays not for a husband, but for silence, for a way to live without shame. And some nights, when the wind is soft and the pigs quiet, she imagines kissing someone. Not for love. Not even for joy. Just to know what it feels like to be wanted. In the hills above Bologna, the year is 1337. A shepherd boy named Luca, barely 12, walks alone with his flock, a strip of leather tied around his neck. At its end dangles a tiny object, a human milk tooth, wrapped in linen and rubbed with lamb fat. His grandmother says it keeps the pain away. He believes her. He must. His father died of mouth fever, which began with a sore gum and ended with fevered shouting and a swollen throat that choked him in sleep. Luca remembers the sound, the bubbling, the black tongue. So he wears the tooth. His own are still mostly whole, small, yellowed, stained by wine and the crust of barley bread, but solid. Still, he fears them. He chews slowly, carefully, never on the left side where he once bit a pebble hidden in lentils. That tooth still throbs when the wind is cold. Sometimes he presses on it with his thumb, waiting to feel the pain. He has seen others lose theirs. The old swineherd with no molars, whose lips sink inward when he eats. The baker's daughter, pretty once, now hissing every word through gaps. No one talks of prevention. Only charms. Garlic on strings. Silver coins pressed to the cheek. Bits of bone soaked in sheep's milk. Once, when Lucas stayed at the monastery for a storm, he watched the lay brothers scrape their gums with sticks. They called it tooth sweeping. He tried it once. His mouth bled for hours. The charm, the tooth, is from his older sister, who died birthing her second child. She had a perfect smile. He remembers it. One evening, a sharp pebble cracks in his bread. A corner of a tooth chips off. It doesn't bleed. But that night he unties the string and stares at the little relic. So pale now. So dry. He does not sleep. In the morning, he adds another knot to the leather cord. He cannot stop the pain, only plead with it. London, 1349. This city is quiet. Too quiet. Outside the walls of St. Mary's Spital, the dead are stacked in trenches. A gravedigger named Tom, 30, tired, unslept, lowers another bundle into the earth. He no longer looks at faces. Only jaws. This one is young, a boy, maybe 12. The skin's still soft, barely gray. But the mouth is open, slack with rot. 4 teeth are missing. The gums blackened. One molar split in half, green at the core. Tom doesn't flinch. He's seen worse. When the plague came, people whispered of boils and black limbs. But Tom noticed something else. They stopped smiling. Not out of fear. Out of pain. Mouths began to stink before bodies did. Neighbors turned their heads, priests held their breath, mothers wept at the scent of their children's breath. It came before the fever. Before the blood. So when Tom sees a mouth like this, he mutters. He had it. He believes the tooth root rot was part of it. A warning. Like a bell with no sound. His own jaw aches. Always has. On the left. A hollow pain, like air caught inside bone. He chews on the right. Sleeps upright now. He will not let it take him. Not like that. In the evening, he walks among the trench rows. Past hundreds. Thousands. The corpses are face up, face down, twisted. But the mouths always betray them. Teeth. Broken. Cracked. Black. Some shattered by tools, desperate hands in the night, trying to pull out the pain before it could climb higher. He's found ropes wrapped around jaws. Wedges. Even a spoon, once, wedged behind a molar and snapped in half. That boy's mother probably tried everything. Nothing worked. Tom digs with a rhythm now. 6 feet 7, 8. One by one. The last faces of the city. He doesn't cover their mouths. He wants the next world to see what this one did to them. Near the fields of Poitiers, the year is 1356. The battle has ended. The banners lie in the mud. Amid groans and birdsong, a young soldier named Emmerich crawls behind a wagon, clutching his face. His helmet is gone. So are 3 of his teeth. The blow had come from the side, a mace, likely, though he never saw it. One moment, he shouted to the man beside him. The next, his mouth was full of metal and blood. Now he breathes through his nose, short and wet. His lower jaw hangs oddly, slightly askew. The pain is dull, but he knows that will change. He spits. A tooth rolls into the grass, rootless, red. No one comes for him. The field is a ruin. Distant cries, scattered armor, the stink of sweat and open bellies. By dusk, another soldier finds him, older, bearded, missing most of an ear. He crouches beside Emmerich, says nothing, only pulls a flask of wine and pours a mouthful over the wound. Emmerich screams. The older man nods, then reaches into his satchel and pulls out a hook. It's still in there. He mutters. You'll choke by morning. Emmerich doesn't understand. Until the man pries his mouth wider and digs. The shard, not a tooth, but a splinter of bone, is pulled free like a fishhook from flesh. Blood pours. Emmerich vomits. Then passes out. He wakes in a ditch beside a fire. His jaw is bandaged with wool. A rag soaked in something bitter has been tied around his head. He cannot speak. Cannot chew. The old soldier hands him bread anyway. Then tears it into mush and feeds it to him like a child. 3 weeks later, Emmerich will live. But his mouth is different now. Lopsided. Gapped. His laugh is a hiss. He keeps the bone fragment in his pouch. Not as a trophy, but to remember what pain taught him. That a single inch of skull, one tooth, one root, can end you, as surely as any blade. In a soot-darkened cottage near Lublin, the year is 1291. A midwife named Yelena rocks a bundle by the hearth. Inside, a newborn girl, still pink, still slick from birth, sleeps with her mouth half open. And within it, visible in the gum, a single white tooth. Yelena doesn't speak. She just stares. It is not unheard of. But it is rare. Too rare. She's seen perhaps 2 in her life, babies born with bite, as the old women say. And both times trouble followed. One child died before midsummer. The other was taken to the woods quietly, by a priest who said nothing and came back alone. This child is warm, breathing, quiet, but the tooth gleams like a flaw. Yelena whispers a prayer. Not to God, to the ground. Then she wraps the child again and calls for the mother. The young woman is weak, pale from the bleeding. When she sees the baby, she smiles, until Yelena lifts the lip. Then silence. A pause. And then panic. They call for the priest. He arrives in an hour, damp from the road, robes muddy. He listens. Inspects. Frowns. It's a mark, he says. He does not say of what. The father, a miller, asks if it can be pulled. The priest hesitates. Better to let nature claim what it doesn't mean to keep, he says. Yelena bites her tongue. She knows that's a lie. She knows they'll cut the tooth. She's seen the tools, the tiny chisel, the heated pin. A child less than a day old, mouth forced open by hands that tremble not with mercy, but fear. She tries to speak. It's just a tooth, she says. A quick one. My brother had one at 2 weeks. But no one listens to her. That night, the priest blesses the child. The father sharpens a knife. The next day, the tooth is gone. But the child will never nurse again without crying. Her mouth, small, pink, and forever hesitant, learns silence before sound. In the basement kitchen of the bishop's residence in Rouen, 1302, a cook named Martha stirs a pot of barley and parsnip with one hand, and cradles her jaw with the other. She hasn't chewed meat in 8 days. And the pain is growing. She broke the tooth on a stone. Not a pebble, a flake of grit from the millstone, lodged deep in a loaf of barley bread 2 days too hard. She bit, heard the crack, and felt the warmth of blood bloom along her gum. She didn't cry out. The bishop's dinner was not yet plated. Now she eats only what she cooks, the soft things. Stewed onions, burnt milk, boiled roots. The boys in the kitchen joke about her whisper. Martha won't shout, she's afraid her teeth'll fall out. She smiles with her lips closed. No one sees how she spits blood into the hearth after every tasting. How she chews on one side until that side, too, begins to throb. In the back of the kitchen, where the barrels drip and the pickled fish rots, she keeps a small cloth bundle. Inside, 2 tiny bones, worn smooth. Calf knuckles. She rubs them on her cheek when the pain won't let her sleep. Her mother taught her that. She also taught her to mix soot with lard and smear it along the gum. She tries it now. It burns. Then numbs. Then returns worse. The steward sees her wince once during dinner preparation and says, "You'll lose your post if your mouth keeps dragging." She nods. But inside, something shifts. Not her jaw. Something more final. That night, she leans over the hearth and holds a blackened spoon to the flame. Not to eat. To sterilize. She places the hot metal against the gum, near the split tooth. She does not scream. But the sound she makes is not human. In the morning, the swelling is down. The pain is still there, deep, slow. But she can chew. A little. And the bishop's bread? It is served with roasted goose and bitter greens. No one compliments the cook. But no one complains either. And that, in Martha's world, is all the reward there ever was. In the upper chamber of a brothel near Dijon, the year is 1371, a woman named Beatrice leans toward a broken mirror, dabbing rouge onto her cheeks. The candlelight flickers. She adjusts her shawl. And then, very carefully, she examines her teeth. Not all of them. Just the ones still worth showing. The front two are sound. Yellowed, yes, but straight. The left canine is dark at the base. She powders that side of her lip more heavily now, lets the smile tilt rightward. She hasn't bitten into meat in months. The molars ache at night. There's a hollow on the bottom left that sometimes whistles when she laughs. Worse, sometimes it leaks, a sick, salty taste that rises from deep inside. She tried clove. It helped once. She tried ashes mixed with goose fat. That just made the pain worse. Her clients don't notice. Not the merchants. Not the soldiers. They're more focused on the curve of her hip, the warmth of her breath. But breath, that's the other problem. She chews parsley when she can steal it. Rinses with wine before each evening's shift. Rubs salt into her gums. It stings. Then goes numb. For a while. The younger girls don't understand. Not yet. Their mouths are still whole. They laugh loudly. Show every tooth. Eat crusts with wild hunger. Beatrice eats broth. Slowly. She remembers the girl from Rouen, Renee, who lost a tooth mid-kiss. The man screamed. Left without paying. Told others. Renee was gone within a week. Beatrice keeps the memory like a splinter in the mind. Tonight, a nobleman arrives. Yum. Soft hands. Too many rings. He smells of lavender. He expects sweetness. She draws him near with her eyes, not her mouth. When she does speak, it is in a whisper. Warm. Slightly turned. He doesn't notice. In the morning, she coughs blood into the basin, then powders her lips again, smiles, and walks back downstairs. In a church school near Ghent, the year is 1325, a boy named Matthias clutches a slate board to his chest as he recites from memory. He is 9. Pale. Too thin. And he does not open his mouth fully when he speaks. He knows the verses. He's clever. But when he speaks, he swallows certain syllables, masks consonants, curls his lip just slightly over his teeth. The other boys don't know why. Not exactly. But they wrinkle their noses when he leans too close. They inch away on the benches. One called him broad mouth. Once. He didn't hit him. Just sat still, fists clenched, eyes wide. He brushes his teeth with linen. His mother taught him. A scrap of cloth, salt, and spit. Every morning. He scrubs until his gums bleed. Still the smell comes back. He tastes it always. Like spoiled milk and iron. He doesn't know why. His back tooth aches when he bites. Not sharply, just enough to make chewing feel like shame. The priest, Father Willem, is kind. But strict. He believes in penance. In clarity. In speaking loud and true. When Matthias mumbles, the priest stops him. Tells him to repeat. He does. Louder. But not wider. One morning, the priest takes him aside. Asks quietly if he's ill. If there's pain. Matthias nods. The priest sighs. There's no money for the barber. And no cause to send a boy home over a tooth. Instead, he gives Matthias a clove. Whole. Hard. Tells him to hold it in his cheek during recitation. It helps. Slightly. At least for that hour. But later the clove splits. The oil burns. The tooth throbs worse. That night, Matthias hides under his blanket. Sticks a finger in his mouth. Finds the soft spot. Presses. Something oozes. He says nothing. Just wipes his hand on the straw, curls up, and hums the lesson to himself, soft, lips closed, alone. In the covered market of Padua, the year is 1394, a man named Silvestro leans over the counter of an apothecary's stall. He's middle-aged, with a fine cloak and rotting breath. His gold ring says merchant. His clenched jaw says pain. He doesn't want extraction. He's seen it. Screaming in alleyways. Buckets of teeth like pebbles after a storm. No, he wants remedy. The apothecary, a lean man with delicate fingers, pulls down a jar. Inside, pale powder flecked with something darker. He smiles. Pulvis dentium. Tooth powder. Mint from Damascus. Charred figure. Bone of hen. With this, sir, your affliction will fade. Silvestro leans in. The smell is earthy, bitter, dry. He nods. Behind him, a woman coughs blood into a kerchief. The apothecary offers instructions. Rub with cloth. Once morning. Once night. Swish with wine. Do not eat goose fat or beans while using it. Silvestro pays, too much. But the pain makes his hand tremble, not his purse. That night he grinds the powder into his gums. It burns. He likes that. Pain that makes sense. The next day the same. No worse. No better. On the fourth morning, the powder tastes sour. The tooth aches deeper. The gum around it darkens. He rinses again. Again. A week passes. He returns, cloak damp with sweat. It spreads, he whispers. The apothecary frowns. You ate something sour? Silvestro shakes his head. Perhaps your humors are imbalanced. He sells him another powder. This one black. More expensive. From Egypt, he says. Silvestro buys it. But he knows. It's too late. That night, the tooth breaks in two. Not cleanly, jagged, like shattered shell. He presses a cloth to it. It soaks red. Then brown. Then nothing. In the morning, he puts the powders in the fire. Watches them vanish without a sound. And wonders why the pain remains. In a village near Metz, the year is 1380, an old man named Etienne sits by the fire, sucking broth from a wooden spoon. He is 71. He has no teeth. And no one asks him questions anymore. The others think him deaf. Or senile. But Etienne hears everything. He just speaks rarely, and slowly, for his words must pass through lips that fold inward, and a tongue that moves where teeth once lived. He remembers each one. The front right incisor, lost when he fell from a cart at 20. The back molar, crumbled during famine, chewing on dry beans that hadn't soaked enough. The left canine, pulled by a traveling barber with breath worse than his. And after that, they went on their own. One by one. Like neighbors moving away. A little blood. A little ache. Then absence. Now, the inside of his mouth is a soft cave. His food is ground. His voice thinned. His jaw sometimes locks in sleep. He dreams of biting. Of tearing meat. Of laughter that opens wide. He no longer smiles. His daughter-in-law makes him gruel every morning, salted. He adds wine when he can. The warmth helps. He gums bread until it turns to paste. He once tried sheep cheese, his favorite. But it stuck, and he nearly choked. So now, he eats safe things. Quiet things. And he watches. Listens. The younger ones joke of pain. Of barbers. of missing teeth. Etienne says nothing, but his tongue, hidden behind silent lips, traces the shape of what was once a full mouth. He remembers the sound of a kiss, of a bite, of speaking without shame. Now, the only thing that touches his gums is a carved spoon, worn smooth by years. He accepts it. But some nights, when the house is dark and the coals glow, he reaches into a pouch near his bed. Inside, a single tooth. His first lost molar. Saved 50 years. He presses it to his palm, just to feel something solid again. Outside the village of Novzamki, in the Kingdom of Hungary, the year is 1401. A sexton named Miklos crouches in a shallow grave, brush in hand, uncovering a skull. The priest wants the plot for a new burial. The old bones must go. The earth is soft, black with years. Miklos knows the feel of it, like stale flour. He uncovers slowly, clavicle, ribs, hips like empty bowls. But it is the skull he studies. Always the skull. This one is worn, pale, sunken at the temple. But it's the mouth that tells the story. The upper teeth are gone, all of them. Smooth sockets, rounded by time. The lower jaw holds 3. One is cracked. One is black. The third is worn to the root. Miklos does not speak, but he knows what it means. This one died in pain. Slowly. Starving, perhaps. Or just unable to eat. He sees it in many skulls, not just peasants. Even monks, merchants, mothers. Sometimes the jawbone shows small holes, signs of abscess, infection, long drained away. Other times he finds tooth stumps still wedged in decayed sockets, as though clinging. Once he found a skull with a copper wire twisted around a molar, a crude attempt at repair, or maybe binding. He does not ask questions aloud, but he remembers each one. At the edge of the churchyard, there's a mound of jawbones, unblessed, unnoticed. Miklos places this one among them, gently. The priest will never look. The mourners will never know. But Miklos sees more than names on crosses. He sees the mouths that once sang, cursed, whispered, wept. Now silenced, but never healed. In the cloister of Saint Tradegond in Poitiers, the year is 1312, Sister Cecile walks the garden path slowly, one hand pressed to her veil, as though shielding herself from light. She says nothing. She never does. Her vow of silence is old. But today, it is pain that holds her tongue. Her tooth, a lower molar, began aching during Lent. At first, a flicker. A shadow in the gum. She accepted it, as she did all things. But by Pentecost, the ache had become a pulse. Her cheek began to swell. She still prayed, still scrubbed floors, still copied psalms by candlelight. But the taste came, bitter, foul, like meat left in heat. It coated her tongue. She told no one. To speak would mean pity. Pity is louder than pain. She chewed only soft bread. Drank broth through the side of her mouth. Rubbed her jaw with lavender oil stolen from the infirmary stores. Nothing helped. Sister Madeleine noticed, finally. Said nothing, but left a tiny pouch at Cecile's bedside, dried sage, ground myrrh, a pinch of powdered clove. Cecile used it all in one night. The pain blurred her vision. Her sleep grew short and jagged. Dreams filled with teeth crumbling, falling into her hands. One morning, she woke to find blood on her pillow. Her mouth slick. The swelling had shifted. She felt pressure behind the eye. She crept to the chapel, alone, knelt in the dark, and prayed not for healing, but for time. Time to endure it silently. The abbess called the physician at last. He examined her in the garden. Said little. Pressed the gum. She did not flinch. Only later did he speak to the abbess, in Latin, low and grim. Incurable, he said. If it bursts inward, she will not see autumn. They do not tell her. They let her keep silence. She returns to her work, to prayer, to her little corner in the scriptorium. And each day, her mouth burns like a wound too deep to name. But she never speaks it. Only her eyes, red-rimmed, dry, defiant, betray what festers behind her vow. In the market square of Dole, the year is 1328, a harvest fair fills the air with the smell of roasted chestnuts, wet hay, and sweat. A barber named Lorenz sharpens his tools beneath a striped tent. The crowd grows. Not for wares, but for teeth. He is not a healer. He is a performer. His sleeves are crimson. His apron, thick with stains. The tent smells of vinegar and blood. His tools clink in a wooden box, pelicans, forceps, spatulas, and a curved knife no one wants to see twice. Children gather first. Then men. Then wives clutching shawls to their lips. On the stool sits the first patient, a stable boy, no more than 16, cheeks hollow, jaw trembling. He winces as Lorenz pries his mouth open. "Ah," the barber says, showing the crowd. "Rotten to the root. Black as plague." Laughter. He shows the tool. Holds it to the sun. "3 turns and the devil will be gone." The boy grips the stool. The crowd leans in. Lorenz plants his knee. The hook slips once, draws blood. A gasp. He adjusts. Then a twist. A crunch. A scream. The tooth comes free, thick yellow, trailing a string of pink. He holds it high. The crowd cheers. The boy is helped away, dizzy, bleeding. Next, an old woman with a swollen cheek. Then a merchant's wife. Then a drunkard who offers a coin to have. All the damn things out. Lorenz obliges. The bucket beneath the stool fills slowly. Not with water. With teeth. Some are brown. Some gray. One has gold on the edge, a sign of wealth wasted. By sunset, 20 extractions. 3 faintings. 1 jaw dislocated. No one asks what comes next. No one speaks of healing. Only coins. Applause. And a pile of discarded rags, wet with blood, buzzing with flies. Later, when the fair ends, Lorenz wraps his tools. Dips them in wine. Counts his silver. Outside, the boy from the morning lies beneath a cart, jaw swollen, shivering. He will not eat for days. But the crowd has already gone home. And no one remembers his name. On a dusty road near Alls, the year is 1360. A woman named Mary walks with a basket of dried herbs and a bell hung at her hip. They call her the Tooth Singer. She claims no magic. Only melody. But people pay her in eggs, wool, and silence. She arrives in villages with cracked hands and a soft voice. Sits beneath trees, lays out her cloth, and waits. They come. Not all, just those who've tried everything else. A man with a swollen cheek, face stiff with pain. A girl who hasn't eaten in days. An old widow who tastes blood each morning. They sit. Watch. And Mire sings. The song is old Occitan, almost a whisper. Rising and dipping like wind through reeds. Her fingers move as she hums, pressing gently around the jaw, drawing circles on the cheek, the throat, the temple. Some say they feel warmth. Others, numbness. A few cry. She says little. Leaves a pouch of dried sage or a splinter of bark to chew. 3 nights, she whispers. Then spit. She never promises healing. One afternoon, a soldier comes. Broken nose, jaw half-shadowed with green. He listens, says nothing, then spits blood at her feet. "Your songs don't work," he growls. She nods. Doesn't flinch. "Then you are too late." That night, she sleeps near a ruined barn. Her own tooth aches. Has for months. A low throb, steady as her footsteps. She chews dried clove, then bites the inside of her cheek to distract herself. She hasn't sung for herself. Not once. But that evening she does. Very quietly. With her fingers at her jaw, eyes closed, she hums into the night, not for others. Just to remind her body that something soft still lives inside it. And when she wakes, the pain is still there. But she walks again. And the bell rings softly with each step. In the outer yard of the fortress of Nyssa, the year is 1347, the executioner, known only as Wenzel, sharpens his axe. But not for today. Today is a hanging. And for that, all he needs is silence. Or so he hopes. The condemned man waits in a cart. Thin. Mouth bruised. His name is Gert. Once a cooper. Accused of theft and blasphemy. Wenzel doesn't care. He watches the mouth. Always. It's not cruelty. It's habit. Years of watching men speak lies, shout pleas, mumble prayers, scream until teeth crack. It begins in the jaw. Just before the rope, the clench, the tremor, the spasm that tightens even a toothless gum into a mask of rage or terror. Wenzel has learned to read it. Sometimes, he sees broken molars, or teeth ground flat from months of fear. Sometimes gold, rare, but always taken after. And sometimes, blood already in the mouth, from fists, from biting down too hard in the night. Today, Gert's lip is split. One canine broken. He mutters as they tie his wrists. Wenzel steps forward. Gently, he lifts the man's chin. Looks. 3 teeth missing. The 4th loose. Speak anything now, he says softly. You won't after. The man says nothing. But Wenzel sees it. The rot behind the tongue, the brown line at the gum, the small trail of pus at the corner. He won't last long. His jaw would have killed him by winter anyway. The trapdoor creaks. The rope jerks. The neck turns. And the mouth opens wide once. Wenzel waits. Then closes the jaw with a gloved hand. Not out of pity. Out of habit. Because the mouth is the last to betray what a man truly feared. In a cottage near the Bavarian forest, the year is 1396, a boy named Elias sits on the floor beside the hearth. He is 6. He has a wooden horse, a woolen cap, and one very loose tooth. He touches it constantly. With tongue, with finger. Wobbles it until it aches. Then stops. Then does it again. His mother notices, says softly, "Don't fuss. It's normal." He nods. Pretends not to worry. But deep down, he wonders, if the tooth falls out, will more follow? Will he still be able to bite apples? To whistle? That night, he lies awake beside his older brother, watching shadows on the ceiling. He whispers, "Did it hurt when yours came out?" The brother shrugs in the dark. "A little." Elias doesn't sleep. In the morning, he spits into the basin and sees red. The tooth dangles now, barely hanging. He hides the blood with his sleeve. At supper, he chews bread on the right side. His father doesn't look up. His mother hums a psalm. He tries to ask, "What happens if it never stops?" But the words stay behind the tooth. Later, in the barn, the tooth finally gives. It drops onto his palm, warm, small, lighter than he thought. He wipes the blood on his tunic. He wants to show someone. But no one's there. So he takes a string. Ties the tooth tight. Wears it around his neck. And in that moment, quiet, alone, with the smell of straw and the fading day, he feels something strange. Not fear. Not pride. Something in between. A whisper of all that will come.